So I recently just got back from a trip to Australia where I taught some lovely people how to embroider different projects, one of which was caps, so I wanted to share it with you guys. So in this video, I'm going to share some of my best cap embroidery tips so that you too can leave here knowing how to embroider caps like a pro. So let's get started. So 2 things before we get started. Number 1, don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss any of our awesome videos. And number 2, at the end of this video, I'm going to be sharing a really awesome cap embroidery guide. So stick around to the end so you can find out how to get your hands on it. So I'm just going to start off talking about the different types of caps and the best practices for each as a quick refresher. And then we're going to get into the proper cap hooping technique. You guys are going to see how I do it to make sure that you don't get any needle breaks. So I'm going to start off with your structured caps, and as a refresher for these type of caps, you're going to want to use your 80-12 sharp point needle, which is a size up from your standard 75-11 sharp point needle. And you're also going to want to use a very light tear away backing because it already has a lot of support. As you can see, this is a very tough and structured cap. Now the reason why you get needle breaks is because the material is tougher and because it's not hooped tightly. As you can see, it's kind of hard to get this flat. With machine embroidery, the whole point of having successful embroidery is to stabilize your garment and get it as flat as possible. So always remember, if you can get it flat, then you can embroider that. I heard that somewhere and it always stuck and it makes so much sense. Something else I want to mention about structured caps, a lot of people either apply water or heat to soften the material and make it get flatter. The whole point again is proper hooping, which is why most of this video is going to talk about proper hooping technique to make sure that you do not have any issues with caps. So like I mentioned, with these caps, you can get bird nesting. Ways to combat that is with proper hooping. And the reason that bird nesting happens is because you have a lot of flagging. So anytime that anything is hooped too loosely, you can get bird nesting. Next up, I want to talk about your unstructured caps. And now these type of caps, as you can see, they're a lot more flimsy. Now hooping is pretty much the same as you're going to hoop your structured cap. You want to make sure that it's tight. The only thing is that you don't want to use your 80-12 needles. You actually want to use your standard 75-11 sharp point needles. And for this, you actually want to double or even triple up on tearaway backing, depending on how flimsy and stretchy the material is. The issues that arise with unstructured caps is a loss of registration. For those who don't know what that means that the cap shifts during the embroidery process because it is not stable enough. Like I said, the whole point of machine embroidery is to get your material to be stable so that you can get a high quality output. If the material is moving around while the machine is embroidering, then you're gonna lose your outline. So basically you'll see gaps in between your design and it'll come out distorted. So how do you fix it? Like I said before, you increase stabilization by doubling or tripling up on tearaway or switching to a cutaway backing. And also you can use temporary adhesive spray to help kind of marry the fabric to the stabilizer. Something else that's extremely important is digitizing, and this goes for both unstructured and structured caps. Tell your digitizer to digitize for caps, and they will know that they have to digitize from the bottom up and the center out. So if you notice that you start stitching out a cap and it starts way up here, you're eventually going to start getting needle breaks when you get towards the center of the cap. Whereas when you start right here in the center, it's already flattening out the toughest part of the hat and it's kind of laying down that foundation so that you can go ahead and stitch freely over it. So with caps, it's kind of a mystery because you have your people who have never embroidered before and they just start embroidering caps right away. And then you have super experienced embroiderers that have been embroidering for 20 years and they swear that they're never gonna touch a cap. So my question is, do you guys embroider caps? And if not, what do you embroider? Let me know in the comments below. All right, so here I have my hooping station. This is just used to hoop your caps. I'm going to just go ahead and attach my cap ring to the hooping station, making sure that it clicks. And then I'm going to grab my hat, and one of the most important things that you need to do is to 1, unstrap, and 2, pull the sweatband all the way back. Now this is one of the most important things that you do when you're hooping caps. Something else you can do is to bring the bill of the cap down just a little bit to help flatten it out a little bit more towards the brim, because this right here is what I like to call your needle break zone. About 1/2 inch from the brim, you're gonna start experiencing needle breaks because that's the area of the hat where it begins to slope upward. So that causes the needle to bend. So after you pull back the sweatband completely, you're going to grab your sheet of tearaway stabilizer and place it right underneath this tab. All right, so I'm going in with the sweatband pulled back, and I'm going to make sure that all of the material comes outside of these little pegs right here. So you don't want to hoop it this way. You want to hoop all the material outside. Next, I'm just pulling back the brim to see my sweatband, and I want to get that sweatband underneath this tab right here. Now, something else I like to tell people when they're hooping caps is to always shift it just like about 1/4 of an inch to the left, because when you do bring this strap upward, it's actually going to shift the cap naturally to the center, because you do want to line up the center seam right here with the little notch in the center of this tab. So next up, I'm going to actually just pull the sweatband. I always like to go in from the right side, and I want to pull the sweatband underneath this little notch right here, where I'm going to use to place the latch on. So I have to make sure that that sweatband is under there in order to hoop it correctly. And then I'm gonna grab the sweatband from here. I'm still holding it on the other side, keep in mind, I'm pushing this down. So I'm gonna grab the sweatband from the other side and make sure that the sweatband is going underneath this little strap right here. So I have them both held right here. Now I'm just going to join with my right hand. I'm going to grab the other strap. If you guys could feel what I'm feeling right now, the hat is sitting flush on this curved surface, which is your whole goal. So you want to press down tight, and you don't have to be strong. I'm not strong. So now I'm holding down with my left hand, and I'm bringing in the little latch, and I'm making sure that the band is super close to the brim. It has to be right against that brim. It cannot be like this, that's wrong. It can't be even like this. It needs to be right up on that brim. Then I have my latch right here. If you can easily bring it up with your fingertips, then that's too loose. I'm still finding that it's a little bit too loose for me, so I'm actually just gonna loosen it up just a little bit. Unlatch it. And there's a little screwdriver right here by the latch. It's gonna allow you to bring it up and down. So I'm gonna loosen it. And you can adjust that depending on the thickness of the hat. If you're working on multiple hats the same way, you can adjust your cap rings depending on that. And then I am just gonna go back and hoop it back up. All right, so I have my hat hooped. Now I'm just gonna insert it into the machine and position it and go ahead and press start. Something else to watch out for is that depending on the hat and your positioning, sometimes the brim can be a little bit close to the back, and you might get some oil stains or anything like that that might come out of the machine. So to help protect that against that, you can just place another piece of fabric over the brim. You can attach it to the brim or right up here in this little plate right here, and that'll make sure that you are protecting your hat. So I've already went ahead and positioned it. I'm just gonna go ahead and trace to confirm my placement. I'm gonna go ahead and press start now. So let's go for it. All right, so here we have the finished product. As you can see, it came out gorgeous, and there were no issues at all during the cap embroidery, and that's because I followed all the tips that I told you guys today. So remember, proper hooping is the very most important part about cap embroidery. If you get that technique down, then you're never gonna have any issues. All right, so this is more than enough information to get you one step closer to becoming the cap embroidery pro that I know you desperately want to be. However, there's still some more information that I have linked for you guys. I prepared a little guide for you guys that you can just keep with you and remind you all the time the different practices for caps. It's very in-depth, so go ahead and download it. I have linked it below. Don't forget to do that. All right, guys, so that's it for today. Thank you for joining. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and to join our Facebook group where you can chat with me and thousands of other embroiderers, ask any questions you have, share any knowledge you want, show off. I don't care, just join me. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.